Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to set aside the travel brochures for a bit and dive into something more fundamental to how we see the world. We're talking about names.
Exactly. We're on a mission here to look at some of the world's most famous places, the Colosseum, the Empire State Building, and really figure out why their names carry so much weight.
So much history and meaning. Yeah.
It's all in the name.
Mm.
When we look at these amazing places, the biggest insight is how their creators managed to pack an entire identity into just a few syllables.
A packed signal.
That's a great way to put it. For you, the learner, understanding the name is understanding the history, the brand, the whole emotional legacy of a monument. It's a shortcut.
It's the ultimate shortcut. We're covering the Eiffel Tower, the Statue of Liberty, the Colosseum, the Empire State Building, and the Museum of Science in Boston. And the goal isn't just to list them off.
No, not at all.
We want to find those aha moments hiding right there in the open. Why those specific names? What story are they telling you in, under 3 seconds?
Okay, so let's unpack our first category. Let's call it the personal naming strategy. These are the big, tall, imposing structures whose names just immediately make you picture them.
And crucially, they link them directly to an identity.
Right. A person or a place. Let's start with the Eiffel Tower.
What's so striking about the Eiffel Tower is how direct the name is. It's not called, the Paris Observation Deck or something abstract.
It's a centennial needle.
Right, exactly. It's named directly after its engineer, Gustave Eiffel. And that decision, it immediately ties the structure not just to a location, but to this huge triumph of 19th century engineering. The whole thing becomes synonymous with the man himself.
But that was a huge risk, wasn't it? Our sources point out that when it debuted for the 1889 World's Fair, people hated it.
Oh, absolutely.
Critics, Parisians, they just mocked it. Said it was this ugly metal thing ruining the skyline. It was a massive controversy. And that's why the naming choice was really an act of extreme personal accountability. By putting his name on it, Eiffel basically guaranteed its survival.
So the plan was to tear it down.
The original plan was to dismantle it after 20 years. But the name Eiffel acted like this stamp of quality, of genius, no matter what people were saying about it.
Ah, I see.
The structure's identity got fused with Parisian history because of that personal claim.
Yeah.
And his reputation was transferred directly to the metal.
So the name was less of a description and more of a powerful brand, almost a promise of quality.
A very efficient transfer of identity.
Okay, so from a person, let's jump across the Atlantic.
To a structure that used geography for its identity. The Empire State Building.
Right, so here the strategy is completely different. It's flipped. We go from an individual's legacy to this statement of collective ambition.
New York is the Empire State.
Of course. And the building just absorbs that name, that identity, and runs with it. It's taking a state-level identity for a city monument.
And this is so critical because, as the sources detail, this was built during that incredibly fierce skyscraper race in the 1920s.
Right, a battle for the world's tallest building.
Primarily against the Chrysler Building and 40 Wall Street. It was a war.
So how did the name Empire State help them win that symbolic war? It couldn't have just been about being taller.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It secured dominance symbolically before the last rivet was even in place. You see, a lot of the rival buildings were named after their financial backers or the companies inside.
Names that could change.
Exactly. But the name Empire State was bigger than that. It tapped into the entire ambitious spirit of New York State. It positioned the building not just as another skyscraper, but as this enduring monument to regional power.
So instead of being named after a company that might move out, the name becomes a constant symbol. It was like a psychological weapon, telling everyone that this building represented something huge and permanent.
The ultimate cultural shorthand for scale and ambition. So when you connect this to the bigger picture, these identity-driven names are just the most efficient way to get immediate global recognition.
Yeah.
They bypass all the complicated history and just anchor the building to a story everyone already knows.
Whether it's the genius of an engineer
or the power of a whole state.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. We're shifting now from names tied to, architecture or people to names that communicate a powerful abstract idea or a huge sprawling history.
Let's start with the Statue of Liberty.
Perfect.
Its full title is Liberty Enlightening the World.
Wow.
That name isn't describing the copper or the torch or who gave it. It's a philosophical mission statement for the entire object. It might be the purest example of a name where the purpose is the message.
That distinction is so important. It forces you, the visitor, to think about the concept of liberty right away. The name tells you the value it represents before you even notice how big it is. It really elevates it beyond just being a big statue.
It communicates an aspirational value, a political value. For the millions of people arriving in New York Harbor, that name wasn't just a label. It was a promise they could see.
A commitment.
Yes, the sources really emphasize that. The name itself is a political instrument, a constant named promise to uphold the nation's ideals.
Okay, so let's contrast that powerful aspirational name with the Colosseum in Rome.
A great contrast.
Because that name isn't looking forward to an ideal, it's rooted in a deep, specific piece of history.
And what's fascinating here is that the name Colosseum, the one we all use, is actually, well, it's basically a nickname. It comes from a historical detail that has nothing to do with it being an amphitheater.
This is a detail our listeners need to hear. I think most people assume it's just because it's, well, colossal, huge.
That's the common assumption. But the name Colosseum actually comes from a gigantic bronze statue, the Colossus of Emperor Nero, that used to stand right next to it.
Oh, interesting.
Exactly. The statue was eventually torn down and repurposed. But the memory of that colossal thing just lingered. It permanently stamped its name onto the amphitheater next door, which was officially called the Flavian Amphitheater.
So the name is like a historical fossil.
It is. It's rooted in the memory of imperial power and that sheer physical excess. It survived centuries of change.
So if the Statue of Liberty's name is aspirational, about an ideal, the Colosseum's name is a deep echo of a very specific historical moment, a reminder that this place was defined by an emperor's ego.
And this contrast brings up a really important question. Which type of name is more enduring for a monument?
The ideal or the historical?
An ideal like liberty is timeless, but it's also abstract and it can be challenged. A name rooted in a physical historical marker, like the Colosseum, maybe that's more resistant to changing politics because it's tied to an undeniable physical past.
So in both cases, the name is really an interpretive lens. For liberty, the name frames how you see the nation's purpose.
And for the Colosseum, the public just went with the more descriptive, memory-linked name, which proves that sometimes, history and sheer scale are more powerful than any official title.
All right, let's switch gears completely. Let's look at a name that is all about pure function and utility.
A big contrast.
A huge contrast with the evocative historical names we've been talking about. I'm talking about the Museum of Science in Boston.
And this is a critical one for you, our listener, the learner. We're moving from names designed for grand stories or historical memory to a name designed for efficient knowledge transfer.
It's so clear, so direct and functional.
There is zero ambiguity. Zero. The name tells you the subject science and the location. Boston. That's it.
I mean, it sounds a bit boring next to the Empire State or Eiffel, doesn't it? But you can't downplay the power of that functional naming.
Not at all. It's the ultimate anti-jargon. And it's so important for institutional integrity.
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about the marketing difference. The Eiffel Tower has to sell its history, its romance. The Museum of Science just has to sell its output.
What you'll learn there?
Precisely. The name guarantees clarity. It removes any need for a visitor to interpret what it is, and it reduces the risk of confusion. For any place focused on education, that clarity isn't just helpful, it's essential to their brand.
And our sources suggest that in today's world where we're just saturated with information, names like this instantly reduce the cognitive load on a visitor.
Exactly.
If you want to learn about science, you know exactly where to go. It's designed purely for utility.
It's an efficient guide. The whole point of the name is its promise. You will learn about science here. That's it. It's the opposite of historical grandeur. It's modern, effective communication for education.
And for a modern institution, one that's often publicly funded, that clarity probably helps with its long-term stability.
It has to.
If the mission is right there in the title, it's much easier for the museum to justify its purpose, its programs, its funding.
Absolutely. While the aspirational names might capture the heart and create these global metaphors, the functional names capture the budget and the mission statement. They're built for clarity and accountability.
Not for metaphor.
No, they're built for utility.
Okay, so we've covered three pretty distinct strategies here. We have names that establish a singular identity, like Eiffel or Empire State. Names that convey deep historical significance or ideals, like Liberty or the Colosseum. And then names that clarify function, like the Museum of Science.
So what does this whole spectrum really mean for us?
Ultimately, the source material forces us to see that a successful name for one of these wondrous places has to be a masterful distillation mechanism. That's what it
The
is.
distillation mechanism, I like that.
It needs to compress the most information, history, location, purpose, feeling into the fewest words possible.
Exactly. Whether it's the creator's identity with the Eiffel Tower, the historical weight of the Colosseum, the big idea of liberty, or just the clear function of the Museum of Science. The name is the framework. It's the entry point to the whole story. A good name is the ultimate shortcut to being well-informed about a place before you even get there.
Right.
So when you visit any of these sites, you're not just interacting with the steel or the stone, you're interacting with the entire history, the ambition, and the purpose that are all packed inside its label.
That narrative is the real power.
That's it.
And that is some powerful knowledge. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden power of iconic names.
Thank you for sharing your time with us. Now, for the final provocative thought we want to leave you with, think about the structures and places in your own life that don't have official names. Maybe it's a path you walk every day, or a specific room in your house that means something to you. If you had to give it a powerful, iconic name like the ones we've talked about, would you choose one based on its creator, its history, or its intended function? Which naming style do you think leaves the biggest, most enduring mark on the world? Think about that, and carry the power of naming with you.